Hey everyone, it's John here from Hot Take Hockey, back with another video, and this video is my final preseason standings prediction for the season, and the playoffs will do a cup pick, so it's hard to go through my exact matchups, but I do want to go through my picks, go through my kind of predictions, a couple hot takes, and even starting with this Metro division, it's so hard to kind of sway away from the consensus, like what people think, just in terms of, like, I feel like it's pretty easy to like signal out the Penguins, Rangers, Capitals, Hurricanes is like four of the teams that are going to be in the conversation. Past that is like Islanders, Blue Jackets, what's going to happen. I did talk about it in my Metro preview with Al's Girl and Lucas, and just talking about the Metro. It's tough because you want to go through this obvious, or want to go to this obvious prediction, but last year, or like even the year before, I feel like people were so high on the Islanders and Flyers, and then they just stunk it up. I thought the Flyers and Islanders both had a chance at the start of the season, but then obviously the Flyers dealt with so many injuries. The Islanders had the tough start to the schedule, so things happened during the season. Two teams that I am a little bit worried about in a sense are the Capitals and Hurricanes, only because I feel like the Hurricanes, a lot of pressure combined with their no Pacioretty, and they're hoping for a healthy Freddie Anderson. The Capitals have no Nick Backstrom, no Tom Wilson, and new guys coming in. So two guys I'm a little worried about, or two teams I'm a little worried about, but Penguins, Rangers are two teams I'm still pretty confident on. So let's go through the Atlantic Division. The Leafs, Panthers, Lightning, Bruins, Sens, Red Wings, Sabres, Canadiens. I kept going back and forth. I had the Lightning at first at one point, I had the Leafs at one point, and I had the Panthers at one point. Only reason I'm going with the Leafs here is just because they've been kind of progressing as a seasoned team. I think that's kind of, so I think people could maybe agree with me on this, is just we've never doubted them as a seasoned team, at least with this core. So yes, the goaltending is a question mark, but as I said, if the goaltending can be above average, if they can have one of the guys step up and be an above average goalie, this team's good enough to be top 2, top 3 in the division. So I'm confident with the Leafs making it. Same with the Lightning, same. Even with people saying that the Panthers are going to fall back, I still think the Panthers will make it somehow, whether it's division spot or wild card. I'm just being creative with putting the Lightning at 3 because I feel like sometimes they do cool it off in the season. No Cirelli to start as well. So Boston at 4, Ottawa at 5. I feel like that's interchangeable just based on goaltending. I feel like whoever steps up goaltending-wise on those two teams, Red Wings, Sabres, Canadiens, it's tough to say, but I think those three will be in the bottom 3. But again, I feel like the rosters are pretty deep up front, at least with the Red Wings and Canadiens. Sabres have intriguing prospects and younger guys coming. But again, for all three of those teams, more specifically Buffalo and Montreal, goaltending is a huge issue. And more so for Montreal, defense is a huge issue as well. So this is my Atlantic, and the Pacific: Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary, Vegas, LA. Honestly, I can't believe I switched LA. But my gut's telling me Vegas is going to either be in or be in that conversation at the end. I think LA could be a playoff team, and I think they could be in a wildcard spot or the 3 division spot. But I think the two teams for me that have the best chance at being number 2 behind Edmonton, if that's the case, because I think if Jack Campbell plays well, they'll probably finish in the top 2. Vancouver and Calgary. I just look at Vancouver with Demko. I think it's a really good team. If their defense can be, as I said with the Leafs, above average goaltending. For the Canucks, they need above average defense. I think the forward group's great. They have Demko, one of the best goalies in the league. If the defense can step up in bigger ways than expected, then the Canucks should be in a playoff spot. Kraken, Sharks, Ducks, I'd love them to surprise me, but I just see those 3 as the bottom 3. I think the top 5 are the top 5. Prove me wrong. Let's see it. Central Division, Colorado, I switched it. I have Winnipeg now at the 2 spot. I'm going hot take with the Jets. I just think Connor Hellebuck's going to bounce back. I think the Jets will bounce back. Even in fantasy, I was trying to decide between Campbell and Hellebuck. I ended up picking Campbell just because I was more confident in the Oilers, but I had that debate in my head because I believe Hellebuck will bounce back, and I still think the Jets can be a playoff team this year. Blues, Wild, Predators, Stars, Blackhawks, Coyotes. I can't believe I have the Stars that low, but I just think I'm not the most confident in their defense group as a whole, but again, we'll see. And their forward group, it's got some holes, but it's also got some question marks in terms of like Sagan, Ben. We'll see what happens. But I'm definitely more confident in the Blues over those other teams. The Jets are my hot take in this, but watch out for the Preds and Wild. I think even though the Wild might step back a bit, the Preds, with their goaltender in Saros and with a couple guys that are stepping up, a couple fillers, I think the Preds could still push for a spot, but don't count out Minnesota. All right, so first round matchups potentially. Leafs Capitals maybe. I could also see a Leafs Bruins first round matchup, maybe one of the Florida teams. But Panthers Lightning, I'd love to see a battle of Florida again in the first round. Penguins versus Bruins, Rangers versus Hurricanes. So the wild card spots are crossing over. The Bruins maybe finishing like, I don't know, the first wild card spot. Penguins are the weaker 1 seed, something like that. Oilers versus Wild. I could also see Oilers versus Flames or Golden Knights round 1. Canucks versus Flames. I'd love to see a Canadian matchup on the west side. Round 1, Avalanche versus Golden Knights and Jets versus Blues. So Central 2 versus 3. We'll see what happens. But next round, so potential Leafs versus Panthers. I could also see a scenario where we see Leafs versus Lightning again. I think we could definitely see a second round Leafs versus Lightning. Penguins versus Hurricanes. I could also see a scenario where the Rangers are in there. So I think between the Rangers, Penguins, Hurricanes, I think between one of those 3 teams, they will be in the final 8 and potentially final 4. Oilers Canucks, I think that could be a lot of fun. Demko would be the interesting X factor in that series. Avalanche versus Jets, another hot take saying the Jets would advance. But I do have a Penguins versus the Leafs and Oilers versus Avalanche conference finals here. Honestly, the Leafs, if they lose in the first round again, there's going to be so much change, I feel like. But I said that last year. So I just think they've got to win a round. That's been the same story every year. But I do think that the Penguins could be playing the Rangers or Hurricanes in this scenario. So I just think I'm swaying away from what I've seen too often. Like, I feel like I had my predictions out like a month ago. I was hyping up the Oilers and Hurricanes, and now I'm seeing so many people online. Not to say that they were copying me in any sense, but I just think everyone's thinking the same thing. Oilers, Hurricanes, Avalanche to repeat maybe. Lightning to be back into there. Like, the 4 teams I feel like the most consistent on is those 4. So I'm switching it up a little bit with a little Crosby versus Matthews action in the east side. And then I have the Oilers versus Penguins in the Cup final. I honestly could see the other scenario. If the Leafs were to finally break, in a hypothetical world, to break the first round curse, I could see the 2 best teams, if they have a good goalie, buzzing in the playoffs. Leafs versus Avalanche would be so much fun. But again, I'm not looking past the first round in terms of Toronto, so I couldn't have them here in the Cup final. And I think best on best in terms of McDavid, maybe getting that torch from Crosby. I think this would be so much fun. The only thing I would maybe switch, as I said, is put Avalanche in here. And then maybe one of Rangers or Hurricanes. So my top 5 scenarios for Cup finals would be Oilers, Penguins as like the one I want to see. A likely final would be Avalanche versus Hurricanes for me. So Avalanche versus Hurricanes or Avalanche versus Rangers. Hurricanes versus Oilers could also be likely. And then my absolute reach would be one of Toronto or Florida going on a sneaky run. Outside of that, I don't think there's too many others that could maybe surprise us. I mean, Vegas, if they get a goalie that's buzzing, I feel like their overall roster could be intriguing in the playoffs. Flames could be a playoff team. So we'll see. And maybe Demko carries the Canucks. But I do have the Oilers as the potential champs. I'll stick with the Oilers, but Avs would be my number 2 right after that. So my 2 favorites for the Cup this upcoming year are the Edmonton Oilers and the Colorado Avalanche. I would say 3 after that, Hurricanes. 4 after that, Rangers. And then 5, take your pick. Penguins, Leafs, whoever you want to take from there. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like, hit the notification bell. I think overall, this is going to be a fun year. I'm just throwing out predictions. I think I'm going with Edmonton, as I kind of already said. Win it for Ben. I think there's so many conversations up for debate. I think Edmonton, Carolina are being talked about a lot. I am going to stick with my Edmonton pick, but I hope we get stuff that's unexpected, because I think that's the best thing about hockey is when we get unexpected stuff in the playoffs, crazy stuff go down, and we don't expect what we see. So thank you so much for watching. Look out for the videos, streams, podcasts, and I'll see you all soon. Peace out.